night about you not defending yourself, and so he went on a rampage, and you know how he can get when he goes on a rampage defending you. Here's what he said last night.
There is a particular host who's being smeared all over the place. Now, early on, I didn't much like this guy, Glenn Beck. But I got a handwritten note from Glenn Beck a few years ago, and he says to me, "What is this problem we have, you and I?" And I told him the problem we have. Turns out a producer, assistant producer, or something like that, was playing us one against the other. And he was magnanimous enough to reach out to me in his personal letter and in effect, say, let's have bygones be bygones, let's shake hands, and we did. Now, we don't socialize together, we don't travel together, we're not on the phone together, that sort of thing. But I met him and his wife twice, and they're lovely people. He's a very religious man. You don't have to agree with him. He's a very religious man. And he is being trashed, and he is being smeared, and things he says are being taken out of context. He's being brutalized. People want to destroy him and destroy his career because he doesn't support Trump. He's campaigning out there for Ted Cruz. Now, why would you do that to him? If he's as bad as they say, why not leave him alone and he'll do what he does and off he goes? Why the hate for Glenn Beck? I'm not a special pleader for Glenn Beck. I've never been to his house. I mean, you know, I don't socialize with the man. At CPAC, he and his wife and me and my fiance, we had a quick lunch, said hello. It was very friendly. And we left. I sat down with a lot of people at CPAC. And by the way, including people who hate each other for interviews and other things. But day in and day out, this assault on Glenn Beck, to what end? To ruin him? They're not going to ruin him. Again, you don't have to agree with him. You don't have to agree with the things he says, his religious beliefs and so forth. That has nothing to do with anything anyway. So what? I think the difference is, and maybe it's a religious view of his or personal, or I don't know. He doesn't really fight back. I don't take crap. And I never will take crap. I never did as a kid. I never did as a young adult, and I won't now. I just won't. And if somebody's out to ruin me, I will address it. I will become obsessed with it. I have never liked bullies, ever. Even bullies who were bigger than I, and they regret it. But Beck doesn't work that way. He just doesn't. And day in and day out, that guy is attacked. And I like him. As I said, we don't have to agree on everything. I don't agree on everything. I don't even know everything he believes in. I just don't follow these guys that much. That said, I don't like bullies. And I don't like this viciousness. I'll tell you what, very strange, this community in talk radio. It's actually quite small, particularly at the national level. The hosts with the big audiences, they're always targeted by somebody. By backbenchers, by Lilliputians, by sycophants. Somebody always wants to put one of us out of business. In fact, some of these jerks want to put one of us out of business, and they're among us. But that for another day. I don't know why I decided to talk about this. I just did. And I'm glad I did.
There, I said it.
I'm glad he did.
I said it.
Thank you.
There, I said it.
I mean, is that great? That's just so
Interesting that he said.
nice.
It's interesting that he said they are among us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice from Mark Levin.
Very nice. Very nice. Appreciate that. Because, as he said,
No,
you won't do it.
well, because it's, as I said, I don't even want to make this about Donald Trump. We don't get anywhere. We don't get anywhere by throwing up a defense of ourselves. For instance, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, his philosophy is, if you're explaining, you're losing.
Yeah, and I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong. And I think that was proven out during that debate. And then he didn't explain the lies that Trump was telling about him. He went to something else, and he didn't explain. And I knew that was their theory. And I knew he was gonna not explain.
It didn't look right.
And it didn't look right. It didn't feel right. It wasn't right. And then he lost 5 states. I don't know. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right. I think you have to correct the record. I think you have to tell the truth.
When you're in a society where the record is so wrong, isn't it better to be teaching principles? For instance, not going after Donald Trump here, not going after the people who have literally, I'm glad to see Mark noticed it, that this campaign of me and religion is unbelievable. For instance, did anybody print? I didn't see. Did anybody print what I said yesterday with George Barna? Where George Barna, the guy who I've been basing a lot of the stuff on his poll results, I had him on and he explained, no, it's the opposite of that. He explained to this audience that it's the opposite of that. And I immediately said during that interview, wow, I've been wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They won't print that.
I didn't see any of that.
Yeah. So is there a reason to do that? Or is it better just to say, for instance, as we started the show, who do you want to be as a man? Who do you want to be as a man? Do you want to be a man who will compromise your principles over and over again, little by little? They're never big compromises, although I think we're headed towards, I mean, this deal with the abuse of the reporter from Breitbart and the bruises on her arm. We're not talking about a little tug. Bruises on her arm. That's assault. She is now, the police are pressing charges. They have it on videotape. They have her bruises. That's battery. That's assault. For that to happen, and now Donald Trump to excuse it, are you going to excuse it? Because this isn't about politics. This is about us. This really is about a war on women. This guy has been exposed now, Lewandowski, his campaign manager, as a total dirtbag. So you know, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Who he hired to defend him in this is a guy who was arrested for biting a stripper.
Allegedly.
No, I think he did.
Yeah, I know he stepped down from some big job.
Yeah, because he was biting a stripper. You know, and only the best people are biting their strippers. You know, sure, everybody has a stripper, but not all of us bite our strippers. Is this the kind of pool that we want to draw from? And I know, look, nobody's perfect. We're not hiring a priest. We're not hiring a priest. Everybody's got something. Everybody. Ted Cruz, he's got something. It's not the National Enquirer, but I can guarantee you look hard enough, there's something there. Why? Because he's human. But the question is, do we build from that? Do we learn from our mistakes? Quickly, play the forgiveness thing from last night on CNN with Anderson Cooper. Have you ever apologized for anything? This is the mark of a man. Not if you have done things wrong. Of course you've done things wrong. You're human. But have you learned from those mistakes?
You said on the radio right here in Wisconsin the other day that you do apologize and you believe in apologizing. When was the last time you actually apologized for something?
Oh, wow. No, I do believe. I don't know. I'll think. Can I think? But
I don't know. Can you?
Look, I do believe in apologizing if you're wrong. But if you're not wrong, I don't believe in apologizing.
Okay. This is the same thing with the repentance deal. Have you ever asked for forgiveness? No. Can't think of anything I've ever had to ask forgiveness for. He now can't even think of anything he's ever apologized for.
For instance, I could have apologized. You brought up, we started this with Corey, my campaign manager. Will you apologize? I said, apologize for what? I see the tape. Apologize for what? I'd love to apologize. It would be so much easier. Wow. Apologize, Corey, you're fired.
But you don't know a specific example that you apologized?
I mean, apologize. I apologized to my mother years ago for using foul language.
Stop.
This guy's Obama to the 10th power.
But he didn't change. He didn't learn from that apology. It was a bogus apology. As I have sat my son down and said he apologizes to his mom for, an outburst or, not listening to her, whatever. My daughter does it too. I've sat them down and said, guys, apologies don't matter. I'm sorry, Mom. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You've said, I'm sorry, Mom, on this very topic, maybe 5 or 10 times. Apologies don't mean anything unless you're willing to change your behavior. Look what he just said. The example he gave was, my mom years ago, she's been dead for a long time, hasn't she? years ago, I apologized to my mom for foul language. Apologies don't really mean anything unless at least, it doesn't mean you completely are, free of foul language. It means, are you trying to be better? Are you striving to be better? Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect.
No, he is. He believes he is. He believes he doesn't have to ask forgiveness. He doesn't need to repent, and he doesn't need to apologize. He never does anything wrong, and that includes cheating on his wife. That includes going bankrupt with 4 businesses and driving 10 or 15 others into the ground and causing all the employees to be out of work and hurting his debtors. He doesn't care about any of that.
Yeah.
As long as he is standing at the end, he's done nothing wrong. It's turned out great.
Remember, he never disregards anyone. Obviously, you did mention the multiple wives there. But secondarily, his mom died in 2000. So it's been at least 16 years since he can come up with an actual piece of evidence.